Life isn't always black and white. Somewhere in the grey lies the truth, where perspectives collide and stories connect. Welcome to the Black, White and Grey podcast. Today, guys, we have a very special guest, Morris the Connector Lothian. Is that correct?
Lothian.
Lothian.
Lothian. Lothian. TH.
Lothian, yes.
Yeah, Lothian.
Yes, yeah, Lothian.
Heart of Midlothian Football Club.
Yeah.
That's right.
Scottish.
Yeah.
Ancestors.
And all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know where to begin. Where can we start? Your stories.
I think from the beginning, right?
From the beginning.
Tell us if it had a quite interesting.
Tell us who you
upbringing.
are. Yeah. Tell the people who you are.
One of the first statements you said was kind of kinship with Michael about where you've come from. So where did you come from? You said
I come from a dark place, and now I found a light and it's shining bright. But I guess we all come from a place that can be dark, but mine was really dark. I could hardly see, but now I found my way. That's why I call myself Morris the Connector, now connected to the light, the source. Now I send out the right vibrations to get the energy back, to give back. When you know, you grow. I didn't know, so I couldn't grow. I came from a disadvantaged background. I failed at school. My dad left home when I was 7 years old. I struggled with that. I can remember when the teacher said to me, Morris, you're going to be nothing in life. Can you imagine?
That's deep.
He said you'll be nothing in life. A teacher that's meant to teach me was telling me and putting me in a corner, humiliating me, making me cry at times in front of the class because he didn't understand me as a person. When I look back, I can see where he went wrong. He went wrong with his mindset. I didn't know about my mindset. I was just doing and not knowing who I was meant to be. But fast forward, when I left school when I was 15 and a half, 16, left school, I struggled finding a job. Back in the 70s, it was like, you go for a job, you get turned down because of your colour. Mm-hmm. I can remember when my white friend went for a job and he came back and he said, Morris, there's jobs here. I've just got accepted for this job. You should go there. And I walked about 2 miles and I went to that job. And they said they never had no vacancies. When they seen me and looked at me, that stuck with me for a while, because certain things when you're youth stick with you and make you react a certain way, against the system. And I can remember my friends coming with jewellery and, cars and looking good, you know what I mean? And I was like, wow, you don't work. Where are you getting this stuff from, And like they say, show me your friends and I'll show you your future, So I joined in with what they were doing, selling drugs, I sold drugs for 12 years, selling drugs, buying the car, jewellery. I've got pictures. I look like Mr. T with the amount of jewellery I used to wear, I've got pictures, all this jewellery, having a nice car, money.
What area of London was that?
That was, I was in Northampton at the time.
Northampton.
Yeah, so I moved to Northampton from the West Indies. That's a backward story there. My mum settled in Northampton when I was 14, And
I feel like that's made a difficult thing even more difficult, right?
Yeah, I was moving about because I was born in London.
Yeah.
Right? Hammersmith.
Yeah. Were you?
My
Pick
dad.
up Hammersmith.
Yeah, my dad split up with my mum.
Hospital.
We moved to East London, lived in East London. Then my mum met my stepdad. After 2 years, we immigrated to the West Indies, Montserrat, even though my parents were Jamaica. At age 11, I went to Montserrat. Yeah, Montserrat. And then I went to school there, got some real licks there.
Real life
because they used to beat you there, discipline. Right?
In England?
In Montserrat, in the West Indies. So they used to hit you
with the
when
cane.
you was bad. So by the time I came back at 14, my mum had a friend in Northampton. So then I went to Northampton school. So I was in Northampton. So by the time I came back, even though I got licked in the West Indies, I found it easier to muck about here.
100%. Because
when I went to school in Northampton, I was like, you know what I mean? There was not really no discipline.
Yeah.
So when that teacher said that to me, you know what I mean? So, yeah, but going back to that now, when I left school, I was selling drugs and feeling good with myself. They say money is the root of all evil, but it's not. It's the love, you see. I fell in love with the money, so I would do anything for the money. I didn't care about getting caught or anything like that. But I got caught. I went to jail.
How long were you in jail for?
I was in jail for about a year.
What was the charge? Was it robbery or drug selling?
No,
Intent
it
to-
was
intent to supply.
Intent.
stuff like that. But before that, going back, when I was 14 and I came back to London, my brother, he got stabbed to death. He was 19. So that was the first, I would say, death in my family that I realised but didn't understand at 14, and he was 19. But while I was in prison, on my sentence, my sister's kids got murdered. 2 kids, 6 months old and a 18-month-old. The father killed the kids.
Oh, wow.
And tried to kill her, but she got away.
Yeah.
It was in The Voice, actually.
Yeah.
Who you work for. It was in The
I
Voice.
worked with The Voice.
Like 35 years, 40 years, about 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that really sent me, because I couldn't get out. They wouldn't let me out to be with my sister, and we were a close-knit
Of course.
knit family. But eventually I came out, but I continued doing the same thing. So I couldn't find enough else to do, and I enjoyed what I was doing in a certain aspect
It's on the
of
cycle.
money situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I recall the catalyst was one day getting a phone call, it might get a bit emotional, getting a phone call and my girlfriend telling me that my 18-month-old son had passed away. He was 18-month-old, he had an accident at home, and I struggled with that, and I didn't want to really be here, I was thinking of doing things that, like ending it, because I must have hugged him only 10 or 15 times, you know what I mean? I was out there drinking, smoking. My mum used to say, come to church, Morris. So I ain't got enough time.
Yeah.
I was out there partying. But at this time, when I look back, I needed a mindset reset, So I started to go to church and everything like that. It's been 33 years. I haven't smoked marijuana or drank alcohol.
Wicked.
That changed my perspective, you know what I mean? My thought. You know what I mean? With every thought, there's an outcome. And I wanted to do different things now. Going to church made me realise that there's more to life than the money, the drugs, because that wasn't making me happy. I had money, but my son had passed on. So within about 6 months, I started to, get a job, started to do things different, you know what I mean? And then after 6 months, I was able to get some money together and I started a market store.
What age was this?
I was 29.
Okay, so you leveled up, got older.
Yeah, 29. So me and my girlfriend got a market store. I was selling clothes, women's clothes. I didn't wear none, by the way. So we started to sell women's clothes at Wembley Market.
Yeah, I remember
Wembley Market
that,
there. Then I started to do clothes parties, and things like that. I found myself becoming a businessman.
Now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was the thing that was going on. A lot of people were buying and selling clothes.
Yeah.
It was a fabric.
Wembley, I started to do that. And then that was being very productive. And then wanted to buy a house. So I decided to go and get another job. And she took care of the market store. Then we got a shop.
Wicked.
And from the shop, led to doing some courier work. From courier work, I moved on to doing some executive driving. From executive driving, because I can't go into all of it, I'll just brush through it because it's too
there's
long.
a lot of stuff.
Executive driving itself is a story within itself.
100%.
So there's stories in stories, but there's one point in the executive driving, I was doing that for about 4-5 years. We had bought a house and everything, and there was one situation after about 5 years, all the drivers, we get different clients to drive. And this man came in my car one day. I had to pick him up. And his name was Steve. And he used to come in my car and I'll drive him. Then other drivers would drive him. And one day he started to speak and say, and we started to get on. And one day after about driving for about 2 months on and off, he said to me, Morris, you're more than a driver. You are. And you know what, everyone? I didn't know what he meant by that. Only now I can understand. Through my journey, I understood what he meant then. because you've seen the character. Like Bruce Lee said, knowledge will give you power. Character will give you respect by knowing who you are. You know what I mean? So I started to drive him. Then he said to me, Morris, why don't you come and work for me? He was a hedge fund manager, you know.
Okay.
I don't know if you know about hedge funds, and stockbrokers
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he was a speculator for a £6 billion company.
Okay.
And he said, Morris, you come and drive my car, leave that company and come and drive me and then come to meetings with me. So it was sort of like an Eddie Murphy thing. I started to go into Goldman and Sachs.
Oh my God.
Trading places.
Serious. This man's telling me places that I used to drive him and drive other clients. He's saying to me I could come into the meetings with him. You know, like Goldman and Sachs, even the Queen stockbrokers. I can remember going to the Queen stockbrokers one day with him, and we'd left there, and he got a call from his company saying, one of his colleagues said, "Who's that black guy you was with?"
Oh, mate.
You know what I mean? And he came to me, he said, Morris, they said to me, who's this black guy that I was with in the stockbrokers? Because he was like shocked, because he's a Cambridge educated guy. He was a young guy, about 30 years old, and he found it strange. I said, Steve, if it was a white man, they wouldn't have asked that. Do you know what I mean? It's because you went in there, because he found it strange. I said, because you went in there with a black guy and this Queen stockbrokers, right? They're asking you, and then his colleagues used to take the piss out of him, saying, you sure you don't only owe money for drugs?
Oh, mate.
You know, and things like that. Do you know what I mean?
They know your past.
Yeah. And then he was setting up, about a year later, he was setting up a hedge fund, £1 billion hedge fund company with a colleague of his. And he said to me, Morris, you know, you could come and do stuff for us. And I said, yeah, I could set up a chauffeur company to drive your clients. You know what I mean? And that's how I set up my chauffeur company that's been running for 23 years now, that drive Justin Bieber, Beyonce. I've done Whitney Houston's tour in 2010. I've got someone tomorrow, but I won't mention it. But yeah, Justin Bieber, you know, he's a good friend of mine. Scooter Braun, you know, Usher. I've done Usher. I've done Rihanna, Chris Brown. I've done all of them. And so that chauffeur company is still going on now. But that brought me from there to here. So that's what I want to say to everyone. It's a journey of life in understanding who you are. Because I wanted to change my perspective, my mindset changed. So I just started to work hard. Do you know what I mean? So after that, the chauffeur stock company was doing all right and everything. 2010, the crash happened. I had to redo that. But what happened in 2007, even though things were going good, you know, I lost my sister in 2007. Wow. She died in that illness. Then 2010.
Is that the same sister who lost the two children?
No, it was another sister.
One.
Yeah. Okay. So I lost my sister in 2007. Then I lost my mum in 2010.
Man.
Then I lost my dad in 2011. And here's me saying, to my siblings, like, at least we still got our dad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to empower ourselves, because we just lost our mum and that. Then 6 months later, I lost my dad. And in 2015, my common law wife for 35 years, she committed suicide.
The partner in crime?
Yeah, the partner that we had the shop with, she committed suicide.
Was she going through depression?
Yeah, she was going through depression for about 5 years.
Was you aware of it though?
Yeah. She left 2 kids, a 13-year-old and a 30-year-old, you know, and he struggled with that. And there was a dark time where I was going through about 2 months where I didn't want to be here, you know, and I actually got something and I was going to, shoot myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had to change the focus, and I could honestly say if I didn't believe in God, by going to church and finding that peace with the Father, I most probably would have done it, but I had someone to turn to. If I was still the gangster, I most probably would have killed myself.
Do you know what's beautiful about, and it's probably profound for me to say in the way that I'm going to articulate this, but what's beautiful about the story is that every step, and as dark as it may seem, every step prepared you for what you are today.
Yeah.
Every single step. So from school with the teacher telling you what the teacher's telling you, that you're not good enough, that built up a resilience that you built upon to the next phase. And even just rolling around with the driver and then it built the next phase, the business, or having
it's
the
a
business.
journey. It's a
the
journey.
whole journey built
It's
you
a
to who
journey.
you are. I
And
must
that's what
commend
life
you for
is.
that.
That's what life is. Life's a journey of pain. Are we going to suffer pain? Yes, we are.
Yeah.
But we can get through it because God's given us the resilience and the power to embrace it. So I had to embrace that when it was a dark time for me, a real dark time. But I can't honestly say, I used to say, why me? Why me in that darkest hours? Many times my kids used to phone me and say, Dad, are you all right? You don't sound right. But I could honestly say, why me? But now I say, try me.
Try me.
Because now I believe, it's not seeing is believing, it's believing is seeing.
That's
now
right.
I know the why. The why is bigger than you, my friend.
100%.
Right? My why, and I know my must. I know why I had to go through so much pain. You know?
Can I ask you a question? So, cataloguing a story runs the risk of just putting death side by side. You know, we could go, Morris has experienced a lot of death.
Yeah.
Each one of those is a personal milestone that you experienced to the
Yeah.
fullest extent. But what have you learned across multiple deaths about death? And did it feel very different each time it kind of swept in? Because, again, otherwise we run the risk of saying your life just needs to be punctuated by loss, which inadvertently will be. But what's your relationship with it on an individual basis and collectively?
Yeah, my relationship with it is understanding, like that why. That why was like, why? But now I believe that God was chipping away at me. He was scolding me. Life is plastic. We get molded all different ways. But when God molds you, he molds you a serious way. But so my understanding through every pain that I suffered at that time from my brother, I didn't really understand. But from my son, I realized that the vision that I have now, I had to see the why in it. And I realized that pushed me from the darkness to the light, to see clearly. You see, we need clarity, we need vision, we need direction. They say, without any vision, people perish. Do you understand? So I started to see things different. And you have to start to see things different for things to be different. So every time something happened, what empowered me is knowing that I can get through this. You know?
And I think it sounds like there was an element of a lot of self-reflection and accountability on the journey that then allowed you to see the vision outward. So you had to look in first.
Yeah, inside. That connection.
Yeah.
Hence why I call myself Morris the Connector, because I had to get connected to myself in them darkest hours. My thoughts, your thoughts become things. It becomes your reality. They say you are the pen and paper of your story. You could play the victim or the hero. I could play the victim and stay in that. Even right now, I've written a book, From Glory to Crown and Glory, and I had to cry a lot. But one thing that happened to me is like going back, writing that book, made me visualize the now. So when we talk about now, am I happy now? Because yesterday was history, tomorrow's a mystery.
Yeah.
But today's a gift.
Present.
For the present. So realizing the now takes me away from that. So we have to take ourselves away from that and put something in place. Hence what you said is like, when I said I wanted to shoot myself and kill myself, what made me, many people ask me, what made you not do it in that darkest hours? It was the focus of my 13-year-old. So instead of wallowing in why me and thinking of the past, because we had a turbulent relationship and stuff like that, I won't go into that, but it was we blame ourselves too much. Do you know what I mean? We have to look at the reason, and God's going to give us pain to push us to our power. It's like going to the gym. We go to the gym to build muscle, but life is about building muscle. Knowledge and wisdom comes from that pain. You know what I mean? So in what you're saying is like, I took the knowledge from what happened to me. You know what I mean? I used the focus. Where the focus goes, the mind goes. So I focused on my son. So I switched it. Yeah. So by switching to my son and thinking, he wanted to kill himself when his mum was alive, when she was going through the depression, like you said. There was times when she took pills. There was times that we had, maybe about 50 times she tried to kill herself. And here, she actually did it. And here's me thinking, I want to do it. So I had to change that focus over a period of time. What made me change that focus? The spirit in me, that intuition, that thought, that switched it and said, what about Levi? And when I thought about what about Levi, I stopped thinking of myself.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
So
that's what we need to do. We need to switch it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because we form our own reality. I could, like I said about the book, right? Writing that book made me cry a lot. But you know what? I was able to release it.
So it's fair to say that, I think the question that sort of Ed was asking is like, when you were going through each death, each loss, do you, instead of sort of focusing on how you're feeling about each loss, you would start to think, what are the things I need to be sort of essentially grateful or I need to focus on at that time? So you never sort of focused, you know, the difference between losing your son to losing your mum to your dad or to your sister, even your nephews. Is that the route to where you are at the
when
moment?
I lost my sister, that was hurt, and I was hurt. But I understand that God has a journey for every one of us, and every one of us is going to leave here one day. It's what we leave behind. So my focus and the way I think of things drives me a different way. Like I said, the why. It's about the why. Why did my sister have to leave here? Because that was her time. You know what I mean? So every time something happened, I put it down to that's their time to leave here. And that's what drives me.
You really understood how to cope.
Yeah.
The coping
mechanism.
mechanism.
Coping mechanism has been, I suppose, so sophisticated to the point that you are here today and able to...
I haven't had no counselling.
To shift.
But God was my counsellor. It's only because I trusted in God so much, because he had brought me this far. Do you understand? So because he had brought me that far, that's one of the reasons in that major time when my common law wife committed suicide, that made me realise and visualise a difference in my situation to make me not do that. It was a time where I'm not ashamed of it, that I was going to do it. And I wanted to do it with so much pain, man.
But your light wasn't out though, was it? It was dim.
Yeah.
And because you lost so much, your light was actually dim, but not out. And like you said, when you think about your son, you saw the dim light and you gravitated towards it like you should.
Yeah.
And that helped charge you up.
Yeah. At this point, you also lost another son, didn't you?
I lost another son, and that's what I'm going to get to. I'm going to get to that point after she passed away in 2015. I lost another son in 2018. And going through that, it was like 2000 I got through that. And what happened was a woman asked me, "Oh, Morris, do you want to come and speak at an event to say how, in front of business people at NatWest Bank, to say how you was able to grow your chauffeur company and come from where you come from and that." And I've never been on stage before.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Never been on stage speaking and nothing. I said yes. Because in life, I believe you've got to be fearless, then your life becomes limitless. And that's what the journey had instilled in me. Out fearless. You know what I mean? So I'll do what's necessary. I knew I had to do what's necessary. What you like doing, I would say to anyone, do it. If you don't like it, change it. Do you know what I mean? Change happens, progress doesn't. Do you know what I mean? So I went and done that talk at NatWest Bank. And when I went up there and spoke, and I shared some of my story, driving the Rolling Stones at that time it was, and stuff like that. And I came off stage. A load of people came around me and said, "That was very inspirational, Morris," and everything like that. The next day, this is pinnacle, the next day a teacher phoned me. He said, "Morris, I heard your story on Facebook. Would you come to my school and say that story to the kids that are going through their GCSEs?" I said, "Yeah, that's all right." He says, "How much do you want?" I said, "I don't want no money. You know what I mean? You don't have to pay me to do that." So when I went to the school, in showing the kids my story from zero to becoming a hero, the person I am now, they loved it. When I showed them the Justin Bieber pictures, Beyonce in my car, because I've got videos of Beyonce in my car, and she imagine what the kids are like, 15-year-old. They were like, wow. And afterwards they started to hug me and say, "Man, oh, you're amazing," and all this and that. And the Andrew Mohammed, he started to, I think you might know him, Andrew Mohammed.
Yeah.
Him, that guy.
Yeah.
he started to ask me to come to schools and tell my story. Then I started to do seminars and that. And then one day I was at home and alone, and a vibe came on me and said, this is why God gave you your story. He gave you the story to tell your story, to save lives.
It's bigger than you.
Bigger than me. That why. And then I had, after that, I started to do seminars and that, but I still was doing the driving, and Justin Bieber came over. He came over and I was driving him and everything, and he knows my story and was talking about it and everything like that. Dropped him at the hotel. By the time I come back to pick him up, him and his wife, it's like, he ran down the stairs, said, Morris, and on his phone, and there's a picture, I don't know if you've seen the picture, there's a picture of that moment, I'll put it down to God, that the paparazzi took, of him pointing to his phone saying, Morris, your story is like Job in the Bible, when God took everything away and his missus was saying, why are you still committed? And he stayed steadfast. And when God gave him the power to empower the people, man, your story's like Job, Morris. And he showed me that. And he said, I would love you to come and speak in America and everything like that. Then about 2 days later, he went. And then I was telling everybody, like, you know what, Justin Bieber wants you to come to America and talk and all that. And then the next day, somebody phoned me and said, Morris, are you sitting down? Because I've got something to tell you. Your son was found dead in a flat in 2018. So that was like, wow, up and then down. You know what I mean? He was 34 years old. He was found dead in a flat, had a heart attack and that. So that drove me down. So going back to what you're saying now, yes, I cried. Yes, I was down, but I wasn't out. Do you understand? Because my thought of thinking of the why. But I understand why now. I understand why. All through the journey, I understand why. I understand we're all going to go through something like this, death.
Yeah, I agree, but I feel that we have a basic right to be able to pass our stories down to our children without seeing them die. Do you know what I mean? That
True.
to me is a sadness that I wouldn't want to append a lesson to it for you and go, you need to see the loss of your, because you can share stories with people and people can benefit from your wisdom, but you deserved and they deserved for your kids to be able to be vessels for that story. It seems
I'm half in and half out with that, and I'll tell you why. And I'm siding with both of you on this. When it's bigger than you, it matters, but it doesn't matter like that, because it's the way energy just flows. All of what you experience is what comes out, and it's more profound than that. So there's a bigger, because even if it's not your personal children, it might be your brothers, sisters. It might be family. Somebody needs to hear it, and it's just bigger than that.
I mean, tragedy amplifies, right? It's why we gravitate towards celebrities that die, because they immortalise and their mythology keeps going on forever. So I agree with you that it's like an amplification of the signal. And I guess with humans, we naturally self-select for our own tribe or community. So the idea that actually the message is then bigger than who you kind of affiliate with, that's also powerful as well.
It's the understanding of your story. Do you understand? That's why I say my story was gory, but it's my crown and glory. Because would I be this person I am now speaking to you guys if my son didn't pass away when he was 18 months old?
What do you think you'd be?
Maybe I might be dead in jail and everything, but it's God's plan. So the way I speak, I perceive things to be, is from my story. My belief comes from my story, from my journey.
Yeah.
My power comes from that, because I'm here now, breathing. And every day I wake up, I thank God for that breath. I show gratitude to reach to the altitude like an eagle flying. There's not many of us up here. Left the pigeons eating the scraps.
Yeah.
So I'm here to lift people up. I believe God gave me that story. And it's that understanding, man.
The understanding.
It's that understanding,
it's the understanding
that makes me want to be here still until I transition from here to eternity. Because if this was eternity, I would have remained the gangster. I wouldn't even say a gangster. because I wasn't really a gangster, but they put that word to it. I was somebody that needed to do what I needed to do to get to where I needed to get to.
Bad people doing bad things just to get to a
naughty
destination.
boy.
Yeah, do you understand?
I'm just trying to get to a destination.
Yeah,
Because
And I'm
ultimately
here
that's
now.
what it is.
And that's what we need to deal with now. Am I happy now? I'm happy now. And when I look back and see how far I've come, man, I have to thank God. I have to thank the higher being. People say, are you a Christian? No, on my journey, I did get baptized and everything, but my understanding now, I'm spiritual. Because when we talk about spirit to spirit, we talk about love. With love, we elevate. To speculate, to relate, to associate and collaborate. Do you understand? With love, that frequency is the highest frequency, and that makes you feel good. Because I believe everyone, you're a queen, you're a king, you're born to serve, man, with your knowledge, your wisdom, your gift. That becomes your purpose in life to serve with. And I love this quote. Muhammad Ali said, the service to others is the rent we pay for being in this world. Wow. What a quote. Powerful. Because now I'm serving. I'm serving every day. I get up, I wake up, and I thank God, and I'm smiling. And I will say to everyone that's listening, wake up, look in the mirror and thank God for you, because there's no one like you.
Gratitude.
You are a child of the abundant universe, man. And success is our birthright.
Yeah.
We were chosen through thousands of sperms, man.
Yeah.
To be here, to make a difference. Different handprint, fingerprint, footprint that we leave behind, that legacy. When you know, you grow, man. That's my saying. When you know, you grow. I know. So I grow every day.
Yeah, you separated yourself from the three-dimensional.
So I'm connected to nothing in this world right now.
Separated
I'm
yourself.
mindful of everything.
Yeah.
But I'm not connected to the money, the jewelry, and the car, and all these things. And I thought success was the big car.
Well, you said it at the beginning, yeah? You travelled all this way to go back to source energy.
Serious, right? Success is me. What's success? Success is me speaking my truth, releasing me, greater in me than what's in the world.
Yeah, it would seem like that's a recipe for collective freedom, right? As in what we'd hope, I guess, is that through birthright, people can be born essentially, let's call it reasonably pure, as in you're not too altered by circumstance at that point in time. And I guess what we hope is if we allow people to freely express themselves, it doesn't descend into chaos. Now, of course, there's lots of people who want control in life and systems, and they ultimately want, they want a dominion over people who will then tell you how things should be, and then it screws people up, right? Because then you go, you have to get a job, and then somebody goes, well, you can't have a job because it's the 70s and you're a black guy and we don't want to give you a job, and then you get all these systems that screw you up, and then you have to fight against them to get back to this sort of pure state. But with the mindset you have, which is get back to that source energy, as you say, how do people do it when they're going to be taken on a journey, whether they like it or not? They just have to be based on the starting points.
Well, I would say the thing in life now, and with the youths, they're not taking time out to find out. We're listening to everyone else but ourselves.
They're full.
That spirit in yourself, yourself.
Their programmatic universe is digitized on TikTok or in this central kind of universe of like a morphed reality,
that
right?
system. It's a system. So it's a system. We have to find our own belief system. Do you understand? You have to find your own belief system.
Yeah.
Do you understand? You have to find your own belief system.
Well, but do we, right? Isn't it? Because, like as you say, love would be a transcendent system that could be broadly applicable to all. So we could sit there and go, actually, the system's there. So even finding it, we should end up at that North Star.
But you have to find and connect with that, because every pain is your gain. Yeah. Right? So every pain is your gain. But you have to realise it and then visualise it. I realise and I visualise now the power that I have in doing what I'm doing, which is serving. And I'm happy doing that. And that's where the love comes, in doing and being who I'm meant to be.
It's a form of manifestation within the process, right?
Amen.
But it's work.
But it's work.
But it's work. People talk about manifestation, but forget about the work that you got to
That's what you
do.
said last time.
So
You have to do the
Right.
work.
I've got a question, right? So when you want to find love, and this will be a broad question, so I'm going to go out there, but you face adversity based on your race. How difficult is it to find love for people who may treat you differently just because of how you look?
You know what? You see, with me, right, and I remember years ago, going through my transformation, I had an uncle and we both worked at a place, and there was a white guy said, how comes you act different from him? He seems to have a chip on his shoulder and you seem to just be so happy. Do you understand?
Yeah,
Because
sure.
he had a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
I was happy
Yeah.
in understanding who I was
Yeah.
or who I am. And we talk about God said, I'm the great I am. I am Morris the Connector.
Yeah.
And that's how I get connected to all my clients and everybody connects with me. You know why? It's the energy, like you said.
The energy.
And that comes from within you, knowing you, loving you first. Do you understand?
So you take a read on it, right? Rather than going, you're a box, I'm a box, that's a box, this is how they're all labelled. You go, what am I dealing with on an individual basis? Is that fair?
It's sort of, it's almost like first you choose the path of least resistance, right? So if you're opposed by somebody who's opposing you, you then go in to fight them, you're resisting. So therefore you're causing your own problem because everything's a reflection of self.
We got taught that in jiu-jitsu actually.
Yeah.
One saying if you go in with too much energy, the person immediately meets you with the same energy.
Right, so-
whereas if you drop it down, they get lethargic
Choose
as well.
the path of least resistance. And that's ultimately the answer to your question. So how do I find love in somebody that's opposing me? Well, it don't really matter.
Serious.
Because I know who I am.
So, and I'm not going to batter down this door, but it's interesting to me, right? And when the conversation is interesting, I should just have the conversation.
Yeah,
But
I love it.
is so if you are not pre-projecting what somebody's projecting onto you, you accept yourself and you feel that like self-compassion, self-love, you can allow for a different dynamic between people of all different backgrounds, walks, lives, genders, races, because you're removing those layers of pre-programming that are, well, will happen by circumstance or are fed to people, one or the two. Like it's either you bump into like negative energy, but how do you let it brush over you? Because as you say, you read that energy, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's still bad, even though you've changed.
But the difference between me and my energy, and even the schools, when I go into the schools, the teachers are wondering how does kids gravitate to me?
Mm.
Do you understand? And that's a form of energy, but that's a form of love. Do you understand? You can feel love, that energy of love from somebody. Like I said, when I came in here, and I spoke to him for the first time, I didn't even know him, but I could tell who he is because that feeling. This young lady here, Anna, when I met her in the gym, do you know what I mean? It's like, I didn't even know she'd done podcasting or nothing. I just gravitated to her because my love, that's coming from inside of me. So I spoke to her and we had a conversation, and she had that conversation with me, not because, because she felt some, do you know what I mean? It was the way I portrayed myself. You can explain.
Yeah,
What made you...
I think to answer that question for you is like, I don't think it's unique to Morris. I think I feel the same way. Sometimes you go to rooms and you meet people that are not receptive to you. So you sort of, your way to deal with it is like, you know, the reason I feel I've got friendships and people from different backgrounds is just the fact that you're open. You just have to keep yourself open. And some people will be resistant to your energy. Some people may not like you as soon as they see you, and you accept it. You're like, okay, that's fine. I can go and sometimes, you know, be a victim of racism. But then I'm like, it's okay. That doesn't define me.
Yeah.
It's just a situation. I'm going to walk away from here. And then it's the past. Does it annoy you? It does, isn't it?
It's disappointing. I say it's disappointing.
Yeah.
I'm not experiencing it, but I say it's disappointing.
I don't make it
people
affect
are judged
me.
all the time, isn't it? I think people are judged for the colour of their skin, their height, their wealth, where they come from. You're constantly judged wherever you go.
There's so many
people are
different
constantly
facets.
measuring you.
Even sexuality.
Yeah, sexuality as well.
Yeah.
So it's a case of you have to like go through life and think it's okay if somebody doesn't accept me. It's okay if somebody doesn't like
don't
me.
Get connected to that.
Don't get connected
that
to
word.
it.
Don't get connected to that
Just,
word.
there's someone out there that does like me. There is. I've got friends. I've got this, and you just have to kind of.
I would also say it's a form of education as well, even through peers and connection and conversation. That once you start to understand how the system works, you know that the system is designed to break different people at different stages. So if you become part of it, you're going to break. Yeah. And that's ultimately what these two guys
because
are saying.
if you become combative to it, then you're going to be
you're in
the game.
Like they say, think outside the box. You've got to think outside the box.
Yeah,
that's fascinating.
You have to have the superior.
So your own resistance will be used against you to just
Absolutely.
keep loading more and more pressure on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess you're right. Like it will isolate. Like so, we've gone down a path that I didn't.
She's so right.
Expect, but
I came from that background where, you know. If you had told me I'll be this person today, an international speaker, life coach, a guy that's a businessman and going to schools, I'm going to schools and teaching now. Do you know what I mean? I'll say, get out my face before I smack you in your face. If you had said that to me when I was 17, 18, 19, I literally would have said, get out my face, you're taking the piss.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because how could I be
like
this
it's
person
condescending or something.
Yeah, how could I be this person I am today? I couldn't see that.
Yeah, it's a
it
violation.
Was impossible.
It was almost like you're mocking him.
You're mocking me. You're taking the piss.
Okay,
yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, you're taking the piss.
But that's because it's connecting with something in you that feels that the real conversation is that it's taking the piss, right? Which would be
how can I become that person?
He couldn't see that person in himself.
Yeah, so it's your own self-value being reflected.
I was going to sell drugs for the rest of my life, and that's the truth. So that's so naive. You must look at me and say, that's so naive.
No chance.
But you wouldn't. But people say, that's so naive. How could you think that you could sell drugs? Faults become things.
Yeah.
You know, the system.
Did you have role models around you that were doing
You see, in school, they taught me about Christopher Columbus, Lord Nelson. There's nothing wrong with that. Do you understand? Right? But I didn't see no one that I could look up to that was my colour at that time.
Mm-hmm.
How interesting.
Later on in my life, I started listening to Bob Marley when I was 17, 18. But there was no one at school that they showed you to teach you. And that's why I want to get, with my charity, a school for life skills and empowerment, so the kids could come there and learn maths and English. But the kids that are getting kicked out of school, so it's alternative learning, or on the brink of getting kicked out of school, they could come there and they could learn and get the power of their ancestors as well and believe in themselves. Because I never had that. If someone had told me, Morris, do you know what? You could become a speaker. You could become this because you talk a lot. Like my mum and dad used to call me a parrot when I was 7 years old. Shut up, you parrot. Be quiet. Shut up, boy. Shut up, boy. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, because I used to talk all the time. But now I get paid for speaking.
Yeah.
That was my gift.
Yeah, sure.
That's my purpose.
But you touched on something really interesting there, which is like the power of transmission of icons for us. Because, again, I've grown up in England as a white English person, so plenty. I see Winston Churchill when I see a fat dude, very good in the time of war. I see Nelson, I see somebody different. But you know, it's pick and choose, right? But I never. It can sometimes feel tokenistic to say, well, you know, who you need to see on a statue, it's going to be somebody who resonates with you. But actually, hearing what you're saying makes you realise how powerful.
It's powerful because if I'd seen somebody. Honestly, bro, if I'd seen someone and I was told that you can be this, you could be that, and I could see that, then it's.
But did it have to resonate? Like, so, let's say if you put I don't know, a scientist up there, or
not science. You know, back in the 60s and that, there was black people that created things. Show me someone that created the light bulb, or a black person that done something that makes me resonate with that. Like, hey, if he can do that. Like when I go to schools...
But with black culture or with culture full stop?
Like the film Hidden Figures with the 4 black women that helped the NASA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Helped NASA create the formula to get them to the moon. That wasn't given to us when we were younger.
Yeah.
But that's become a film about 10 years ago of recent times.
Yeah.
But we're talking about something that was in the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, the lack of role models causes lack of self-esteem.
Or the lack of vision.
Yeah. So that's the trend. It equals to if we don't see someone that equals or that looks like you, that can be something, then you instantly will attach yourself to the person that looks like you. And then you say, if that person is only a cleaner or that person is a drug dealer, then that's your person. That's who you're
But does it feel
become.
like that's your ceiling?
That exactly.
Okay, wow.
Because when you're in that place of what appears to be hardship, and it feels like you're at the lowest, all you're trying to do is get to the next destination.
Yeah.
Now, we've had conversations where, like I said to you guys, I was somewhat privileged on my estate.
Yeah.
Because my family was able to afford Sky. My parents owned their house, whereas all of my peers, they were council house. So what they were going through, I weren't seeing. It's only when I speak to them now, some of them couldn't eat. They couldn't get food for the next day.
Serious.
Do you know what I mean? Let alone the electricity bill. And then it was single parent households. And then there was no breakfast in the morning. So I'm like, it makes sense to why half of them kept coming to my houses in the morning. My mum used to be the type of mum that would just offer the community food.
Yeah.
So the community spirit was there. But in my house, my friends are just coming and they're always eating in my house. But what I didn't realise is my mum knew the hardship that they were going through. And instead of them being on the street, she would rather bring them in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's
amazing.
That's the idea of just that type of person that we're talking about. They can't see tomorrow.
It's awareness. I wasn't aware of nothing outside of my environment.
Yeah.
I was a product of my environment.
Yeah.
So I wasn't aware of nothing else that I can do outside of my environment.
And it's toxic.
But then you've got like a very material sphere that you're existing in, right? Like defined by the UK, or not Montserrat as well, like defined by a certain sphere of very material realities. And then what you said is actually, if I've gone above that to something that I self-define as like spirituality, wholeness, totality, none of that actually matters. It breaks apart in an instant. Can you still pass that message on to somebody at the destination they are, right? So a 15-year-old who's angry, who is still trying to reconcile that their dad's not there, like, do they still have to go on a different journey to get to that point of revelation?
That is good. Because funny enough, when I went to the last school I went to, he texted me, he said, thank you for coming to my school, but I've changed my life now. I'm passing my exams and I want to thank you. You're a good motivator and everything. Now, why did he say that? I know why he said that. Because he's seen a man come from zero to become somebody of the same colour. Do you understand? Right? So he got the understanding of my story. From zero to rising like a phoenix from the ashes. Do you know what I mean? That's power for kids that are going through. So I'm 62. But it's like I'm 22. When I go to the schools, they think I'm their age. I'm on their level because we're connecting. We're connecting. My story is connecting with them because they're going through something, maybe selling drugs, going through maybe some death, going through trials. So everybody's going through trials and everybody's got a story, a different story, but it all connects.
But it's hard not to be the end of the book, coming back to tell the beginning chapter, how the book ends. You know what I mean? Because I remember when we used to
There's no end, though.
There's no end. Fine. That is a good point.
That's what I was going to say. Like energy and frequency has no age.
Yeah.
But you've got to tell a 15-year-old, right? Like telling a 15-year-old that it lives beyond their death is a difficult sell because they go, I'm only just started living.
No, but that's just it. It's when you talk in the language of energy and frequency.
Yeah.
There's just going to be connectivity.
Yeah.
So you don't see the physical.
I'm not talking like that.
It's just vibrations.
I'm talking like that. I'm talking, I'm just being me.
Yeah. He's just delivering
right? So I'm just being me, my truth. And if you're telling the truth, it's the truth. People can connect with that. If you're telling lies, if someone came to you and was telling lies, right, you sit there and you think, boy.
But the vibration's low.
The truth, yeah, the vibration's
feels
low.
Murky, doesn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't work. But when I go into school or I'm on stage, people can feel that.
It, yeah.
Because it's real, isn't it?
What's that say for people's jobs, right? So where I feel about a lot of jobs is people are selling stuff to each other.
Sounds personal.
But people are selling stuff to each other. People are either making stuff or they're selling stuff to each other. Part of the sales process is, polish the apple, whatever, give it the story. And it's like, it's not necessarily a lie, but it's mitigating circumstances and engineering like desire to serve it up to somebody, not necessarily for their best interest. It's because there's some kind of corporate agenda. What does that en masse do to people's energy? Because you're spending 8 hours a day kind of trending sideways, or hopefully not down. You know, some people are selling people absolute garbage, right?
Yeah, but people are
Not us,
a lot of people are working in a job and they don't even know why they're there. Do you know what I mean? God gave us time to take time out. I think the greatest tragedy is people going to work and not knowing why. Do you understand? Going to work and not knowing why. I believe, and that's from my perspective, right?
Go for it.
That everybody can find something that they love to do. What are you passionate about? Do you know what I mean? What are you passionate about? Even if it takes time, a baby takes time to walk, gets up, falls over, gets up, falls over, gets
Best
up,
way.
falls over. And one thing you just mentioned, Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill said, success isn't final. Failure isn't fatal. It's the courage to come back over and over again. So there's no failure.
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela said, you either win or you learn. Do you understand? Right? And that's what life's about. And if people started to think about and take time out and think about meditation or doing something and drive themselves, because we just live in a habitual world. It's only habits. Learning is a habit, good or bad. Drinking and smoking, it's a habit. What about the habits that's embedded in you that can change you once you change that habit? Sometimes we don't realize that that habit is making us do a certain thing from growing, and that habit's making us react that way. Like me, for instance, I reacted the way I reacted in my thoughts and my thinking because of the habit from growing, doing the stuff that I used to do. But what changed? That catalyst that made me take time out and think, shit, oh my days, my son. It made me think and say, but Morris, you only hugged him 10 or 15 times.
How about that?
That's powerful.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So that realization made me realize, what was the money? What was the jewelry?
Mm-hmm.
My son isn't here. And I'm crying, I'm thinking of him every day, thinking, I didn't even get to know this boy.
Yeah.
And he's gone.
What was
So that drove me. What's driving you or you to do what you need to do? To be the real you that's inside of you.
Food on a plate.
And to your point,
I just need food on my plate.
yeah.
Come on, so, Michael, we're going to come out to your mum's house to get some
Come round to
some
my mum's,
food.
innit? I mean, and to your
Serious.
point as well, a lot like Morris is saying, there's a lot of people that have joined the system. Are you in the right system?
Well, who's defining the system, right? As in some ways that's obvious because it's like just be a good human
But
being
you have
full
to
of
define it
I was
because
going to say it's
yeah. So some ways it's easy to follow, but you know,
it's your
Exactly.
system.
The thing is, right, from my perspective is, every time I wanted something and I got it, right, then I wanted something else. But guess what? I don't need nothing else now because I found the real me.
yeah, true.
So once you find you, right, this doesn't matter, that doesn't matter, nothing matters. You're just happy doing what you're doing, and then you know what to do because you feel the happiness in doing what you're doing. Half the time we're not happy doing what we're doing.
So it's an interesting thought experiment, and I did this a while back. I just put myself out on the barbecue, you know, just to sizzle. But I was like, what is it I'm actually professionally or intellectually good at? So I was like, well, let's get ChatGPT on it, right? It's having lots of conversations. It goes, it's having lots of conversations with lots of people all the time, and it's forming a barometer of opinion of how we form language, how we form structure, what your specific attributes are, right? And I'm like, well, you know, in the negative bucket, I was dyslexic growing up, or still am. So it's not good for your professional confidence because everybody loves grammar and writing emails properly. And as soon as you make a mistake, everyone's like, you're an idiot. So I was like, look, why don't I interface with something and just get that mirror held up against a consensus of data? I mean, and I kind of think like for all the kids who don't have like that reflection of parents who are available or paying attention, it's like we should throw ourselves into that mechanism at least to get some feedback, because no feedback is like the most harrowing thing ever, right? When these kids that you're dealing with just go, you know, my dad's not here. I can't even ask him the question to get the answer. And it's like, how do we build like the gaffer tape to make these mechanisms where we can give people the feedback loops they need, the listening ear they need, that just does something to help them figure themselves out. Because you're one person, you can't deal with 8 billion people, or you could.
Nobody can, and that's what I was saying to you earlier. It's an each one teach one philosophy.
Preach one, reach one.
Yeah. Now we know, wherefore.
Yeah.
We project it through the camera.
Yeah.
That's thousands,
true.
millions.
Yeah.
Then it takes one on the other side to tell another, and then it just keeps going. The perpetual effect just takes over.
Yeah. People need to realise, I'll give you an example. When I realised that I wanted to be a speaker and I enjoy going on stage, you know, and that's, they say one of the most fearful things in the world is going on stage speaking.
Facts.
But that's just natural for me. So I was sending out emails and that to get on stage. But when I'm sending out these emails to these companies, they don't want me.
Yeah.
Because they want someone famous. Do you know what I mean? Someone famous to come and do this talk or stuff like that. So you said something earlier. How do you feel with yourself in what I'm doing, or something like that? Something you said,
About
right?
rejection, right?
Yeah, about rejection.
And love.
Do you know what? I was in my office. You know what I said? The Spirit said to me, the Spirit's your intuition. Why don't you create something? Like they say, if there's no opportunity, create it, because we're creators. God was the greatest innovator. Innovation is a great thing. That's what these kids need to know. So what I did, I said to my team, I've got a few guys around me, I said, listen, I'm going to hold my own event. I'm going to create my own event. And I created it, Mindset Reset Tour. So I hired a place at Heathrow, like a hotel, a conference room. I got people that I needed around, everything. And then I got speakers, contacted speakers that I knew and stuff like that, charged them £165 to speak 15 minutes. And then I got 10 speakers from America virtually, zoomed in.
Wow.
Zoomed in, and I got 10 in London. I got it.
Yeah, send me the video.
Yeah, you've seen the video, right? And I performed on stage, and I had an audience of about 40 people, right? But also online, 200 people. And Muhammad Ali's first wife spoke on my stage.
Oh, cool.
She came because she heard about it on Vigilink, and she spoke on my stage. Do you know what I mean? I created that. And that was in 2022. And last year, I took it to Atlanta, America. And I've done it in America. And I showed you the testimonies. I created that. So I have a Mindset Reset Tour that I do. I go around. I want to take it around England. And then even on stage, I said, I'm going to take it around England. And I'm going to take it around the world. That was in 2022.
Wow.
And last year, I took it to America. Serious. I done that. That's power. There's power in you, waiting to come out, mate.
I mean, the English audience, I would much rather do it to an American audience where they're going to get up and start cheering.
Yes.
Trying to get an English audience excited about stuff.
No, but
I'm going to tell you that's a myth. You can. And that's what Morris is about, though, isn't it? It's the energy, and that's what I'm alluding. Like, I have to keep banging it to you, because what you need to understand is energy does the work. Yeah. It's not your physical.
Also depends on the demographic as well.
No.
I'm going to an event next week, and I know I'm going to be.
It's you, though. Super, it's all in you. So
no, everybody else is there. It's going to be super.
What, are you speaking? Are you speaking?
No, I'm just going to go to a gala, a white gala. So I need to.
Please talk like what you mean.
No, it's called a white gala.
As in
sorry.
White tie, not
white tie.
Let's be clear about this.
Not black tie, white tie.
I was about to correct myself. So there's obviously black tie and a white tie. And they said I need to bring accessories.
That's
and I was
different.
thinking, I need to really. I was going to call Ed to take me shopping because I don't understand what that meant. I was like, what's the attire?
My brother knows what it means. I don't know what it means. I've never been.
I don't know if you have to wear the long.
It's a certain like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident it's going to be really tamed.
Yeah, but in fact,
But yeah, it's full of
imagine
people.
imagine you're delivering this, right? But then in the process, what you've done is put up a slight fear factor, and I don't know if it's the
Yeah.
correct
It's gonna be
word.
my first time.
So you're creating your experience.
Serious.
before
Already.
you
That
can
is
get there.
true. That is
That's
true.
true. There's
That's
a
what I'm saying.
synthetic
The
experience.
first
Yeah.
Yeah.
becomes fit. Remember, what you got to remember,
That's true.
there's an outcome for every thought. We get thousands of thoughts every day. Which one do we latch onto? That becomes
But
your outcome.
is that, you know, when you start to feel, am I good enough?
No, but
What's
you've
my
given
goal?
it like an educating
imposter
Rita
syndrome.
spin,
Imposter
right?
syndrome is
Yeah.
kicking in. I'm like, no, but I feel like confident to go.
But what
I
you
just
mean?
feel
Do you break the experience for those that expect it to be a certain
Remove
way?
expectation.
But as in, do you know what I mean? Like what
expectation.
she's worried about is that other people going, I expect my white tie deal to be like this. Nobody will make lots of noise, and it'll all be very.
Or she doesn't feel that she's good enough to be there until she's there.
Can we dig
and
into
then
that?
the
I
imposter-
feel like I'm worthy to be
So
there because
where's
I
the
was
imposter?
invited. I was invited.
Yeah, can we dig into this? I'm fascinated.
and we've got
No,
the
but
teacher
I-
here
I-
to teach.
I just feel that it's going to be a new experience. So instantly, I'm nervous about it. I looked at
Change
Leah.
that, right,
Yeah,
to getting excited.
yeah. Okay.
Put something there to be excited about. And then
Okay.
then you'll get rid of that
The nervousness, yeah.
because
I
that
was-
excitement,
it wasn't-
the mind
yeah.
will work for you.
Yeah, it wasn't.
The
yeah,
mind will work for you.
That's yeah.
But can you
it
play it
wasn't so
out? You're
serious,
going to
more
go
like-
there. You're going to open the door. You've
Yeah.
got to make sure the outfit's on point.
Let me
Now,
Sorry, they will open the door because
they will open the
Let
door.
me tell you something about the visualization process that
Yeah.
I go through. When I see that suit and I'm like, I'm wearing that.
Yeah.
Then I put it on and I'm like, oh no, I look bad now. I
You
look
serious?
sick. I look dapper.
Yeah.
When I step into that place, they're gonna be looking at me.
Yeah.
They're gonna notice
Power.
my energy.
You understand?
That's how
Is
I
that
walk
what
through
you
the
do?
door.
That's what I'm
When you
saying.
go
I
to
don't-
Actually, I'd be lucky to turn up in the right outfit. Yeah, I was. Yeah,
That's the power you have to give yourself. We're powerful people. The mind is so powerful. It's like a juggernaut, but we just don't use it enough, really. And we let people control it. Do you understand?
Sometimes we control ourselves. We stop ourselves. We limit ourselves. That's the
Yeah.
We do limit
Yeah.
ourselves.
but I guess the whole experience to take on the white tie is controlled because somebody selected that here's
The
an
attire.
outfit.
I
here's
know,
what
but she has
matters.
to. But
System.
it's her
It is
system. That's
100%.
her system.
She's
her
joined their system.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm joining their system.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
she's got to do is erase it and create her own system within
But-
their
yeah,
system.
but-
Yeah.
But it's also a
Yeah.
theatre, right? Like it's like Christmas is a theatre. Like things people want to buy into the mystique of it. Probably because base life is a little bit boring, and then they
Yeah.
can transform themselves
Yeah.
into these different energy spaces, right?
Yeah.
And somebody's saying, actually, we like nice things, so we're going to have like waltzes playing, and we're going to have a white tie on, and people will be serving us
Yeah.
Ferrero Rocher,
It's just
what
like
they do.
an imagination.
Oh,
right?
we sit
Yeah.
at a table
Fun
with
place.
like 10 cutlery.
Well, the real question is, do you come away from that experience and feel slightly elevated? To put on your crown, it's like you're not putting on a crown, you're putting on like white tie
I
though.
think it's subject to
The crown's always on.
The
No.
crown's always off.
Crown's always-
Even if your crown falls off, mine fell off many a times, but I'll pick it up
Pick it
with
up
the
and put it
power
on.
because I know your crown. You're born noble. That's what people need to realize. You're born noble
Yes,
with a
Ed.
crown on.
Noble.
Your crown's already on.
Your crown's on. Sometimes it falls off. It fell off many times
Gets
in
knocked
my
off.
my life.
Yeah.
But you got to pick it up and say, yes,
our king
I
from
am this king. I have the power to serve.
Yeah.
our king from
But that's an
Ireland.
interesting that is a great line. I am a king. I'm prepared to serve, basically.
Yeah.
Because people treat kings as almighty. Everybody's serving them, but because we've abstracted it, like the king was always there to sort of serve in part. But we have turned it into something that suits us, which is I have a kingdom.
No, we're leaving it right there. We'll have to wrap this
That
up.
was
and
the
leave
right
that there
time.
because that was powerful.
Yes.
So, Morris, where can people find you?
You could find me anywhere. I am Morris to Connect on Instagram, Morris to Connect on LinkedIn, Morris to Connect on Facebook, Morris to Connect on TikTok.
If they can't find you across those, they don't deserve to find you.
And you can also, ChatGPT's got me.
Oh, wow. You program ChatGPT?
Yeah, ChatGPT's got
Good
me.
man.
So I'm everywhere, man.
Legacy. Thank you.
Thank you very much for
Thanks,
coming.
Thank you all for having me, man.
Yeah, pleasure.
Thank you all for having me. I loved it. The conversation was greater than great, man.
Beautiful.
I hope all the viewers that watch this take something from this and go and grow.
Tell your friends.
Amen.
Thank you.
If you like that episode, like, share, subscribe so we can keep making this content.